You're with ET now. This is the India Development Debate. I'm Sandeep Gurumurthy joining you live from our news center in Mumbai and joining in Delhi, in fact. And with me is my colleague Supriya Srinath. Let's take it straight to the big debate tonight. Call it the Northeast Effect. There is a fresh effort to cobble up a non-Congress front led by TRS Chief and Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrashekhar Rao. The idea is to stitch together a pan-India alliance of regional forces as opposition parties look to stop the Narendra Modi-Amit Shah juggernaut on its tracks. But the skeptics are already at work. Although Trinamool Chief Mamata Banerjee has given the thumbs up to KCR, it is unlikely that she will play the second fiddle to the southern leader. Political observers also say the proposed alliance will collapse in the run-up to the 2019 general election because of the inherent contradictions. Also, questions are being raised about the effectiveness of any alliance without the Congress party in it.
Now, not just that, many believe that with regional issues playing the centre stage, reaching a common minimum program is perhaps going to be a little tough. There is also a thought that the proposed third front will only make things easier for Modi, as the non-BJP votes will get split between the Congress and this new alliance that is being toyed with. Political observers say that unlike in the 80s and 90s, the rise of nationalism and soft Hindutva could also pose a big challenge to the third front. So will this ragtag coalition be ready to take on Modi if he decides to go for early polls? Who will be the face of the proposed third front, and who has the might and the charisma to match the Modi magic? The big political regrouping in New Delhi, that's the topic of discussion right here on the India Development Debate tonight. For more details on that big story and that big debate, we are joined by a stellar panel right here. Seshadri Chari, Member National Executive and Convener Foreign Affairs Cell BJP. Sushmita Dev representing the Congress Party. Professor Sanjay Kumar, Director CSDS. R. Jagannathan, Editorial Director Swarajya Magazine. And Mr. Kunda Vishweshwar Reddy, MP Lok Sabha, representing the TRS. Besides him, D. Raja, MP Rajya Sabha and National Secretary of the CPI. So thanks each one of you, and thank you very much for sparing time and joining us in what is perhaps going to redefine the political equations from here on. But Mr. Reddy, you represent the TRS, and the war cry was from your party chief and the Chief Minister of Telangana. Have parties like yourselves and the TMC perhaps panicked after the Northeast elections and are desperate to now keep the BJP out, and which is why this war cry of a third front, because it comes immediately after the Northeast verdict?
Firstly, we never uttered the word third front. What we believe is the nation requires a change. We are not against BJP, we are not against Congress. We are against the slow and very painful growth the nation is going through. Every elections, there's a huge expectation and slowly it diminishes down, and again it repeats over and again, and it's happened. After 70 years, we do not have drinking water, treated drinking water in villages. No villages in India have. Many villages do not have power. We have 70,000 TMCs going waste into the sea. Right. And there's so various issues. We think the people of India are looking for change, and the demands of times will dictate what change will that be and what political form it will take. Okay. And we are not suggesting a third front.
Okay, you're not suggesting a third front. What you're effectively saying is there's need for change. You're keeping your political cards close to the chest. You're saying you're not against BJP, you're not against Congress, but there is need for a new political grouping. Let's take it to D. Raja of the Left Party. The Left Parties obviously took the big knock on account of the verdict in Tripura, where the BJP swept to power and beating the left after 25 years. Is this talk of third front and the kind of reaction that we've seen to this proposal made by Mr. Rao, is this sort of a knee-jerk reaction, a trigger really to the verdict that we've seen in the Northeast, specifically in Tripura, Mr. D. Raja?
There is no knee-jerk reaction. We confront the reality as it is before us, and we know this, and BJP is capable of using all its powers at its command, including money power, muscle power, in order to manipulate the politics in Northeast region and manipulate even people's mandate. That's what one should understand. Northeast region is a very sensitive region, very strategic region, but the BJP went ahead aligning with certain forces which is very questionable, and so as far as left is concerned, there is no knee-jerk reaction. We take the reality we confront the reality as it emerges before us. But today what is happening in Tripura is shameful and condemnable. The way they are bulldozing Lenin's statue, the way they are attacking left cadets and officers are condemnable, and all secular democratic forces, not only the left, all secular democratic forces must come out and openly condemn this kind of absolute vandalism, violence unleashed by BJP and Sangh Parivar cadres.
You know, I appreciate your sentiment and I understand your pain at that Lenin statue being fallen, but Sushmita Dev, I think it's only fair that I bring this to you, and my own perception in the first two answers of my show really is that there's a little bit of a change in stance there. The left is talking about all anti-BJP parties coming together. The TRS today says they never really spoke about a third front and they're open to, changing coalitions. In some sense, and the Congress, of course, was very quick to come out and dismiss this third front altogether and say this isn't going to be possible without the Congress. Will it be naive for national parties to perhaps at this stage dismiss KCR's war cry? I mean, he is an astute politician. Right after Chandrashekhar Reddy died, he sensed an opportunity, a political vacuum, sat on that fast, got Telangana approved on the 10th day of his fast. Today, he realizes there is a political vacuum of sorts as far as the resentment of states are concerned, and he's trying to capitalize on that. But given the changing tone a day after, Sushmita Dev, will the Congress party be willing to tap into that resentment as well?
See, all I'd like to say is that things are still emerging. There are two realities that no one can deny. That the advantage Congress has is that no matter what, it can give 500 plus candidates all over India. Apart from Bharatiya Janata Party, no other party but the Congress has that positioning in India. But one also can't deny that there are many states in which regional parties are stronger and they are anti-BJP. So the question is, all these facts have to be looked at, and then the situation will evolve. There is a question of vote share. Like, we don't have the time to go through the look through the entire vote share issue from state to state. But I think to dismiss each other, for Congress to dismiss regional parties and for regional parties to dismiss Congress, and I think that should not happen at this stage. It's too early. Politics is very dynamic. Let's see how it goes. The Karnataka election is yet to come. Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan is yet to come. And though I have to admit that though we could not form the government in Meghalaya, we were the single largest party. In Tripura, almost the entire vote bank has shifted to the BJP. But please, let's not forget that in Rajasthan, we got a thumping victory in 2 Lok Sabha seats and 1 MLA seat. In Madhya Pradesh, in Jyotiraditya Scindia ji's MP constituency, we have done well. In Punjab, we are doing well. So we have to look at the larger picture.
Okay, fair enough. You're saying we need to look at the larger picture. Seshadri Chari, how's the BJP viewing talk of this third front? I mean, for long it was just sort of, journalists speculating on this arithmetic possibility of the third front. But if you look at the tone and tenor of the 3 participants on the show from the opposition, there seems to be a little bit of, ability to work together. How is the BJP viewing the possibility of this third front coming together, or this anti-BJP bloc, so to say, coming together and posing a threat to the Modi government in 2019?
See, this is not the first time that the idea of third front is being mooted. This is probably the nth time that somebody is talking about third front. Only that every time a new person talks about third front, and surprisingly, the idea of third front has always been, I mean, this time again, if you go by one of the guests who belongs to TRS, he himself has said that we are not calling it third front, but whatever it is, an alternative political formation, let us call it, I mean, for the sake of understanding. Now, every time somebody talks about third front, he always uses the term non-Congress, non-BJP. This time they are saying non-BJP, non-Congress, because BJP is the single pole that they are all trying to oppose. Now, actually, there is no vacuum as far as the ruling dispensation is concerned. Overwhelming majority of the people, that is almost except 8 states where there is a Congress, or 2 states where there is a Congress government, and the rest of it are non-BJP, non-Congress government. And all their Lok Sabha seats put together comes to something like 200 seats.
Right.
And if you exclude the 9 union territory seats, more than 300 and almost 325 seats are with the BJP. So they are talking against, it is 325 less versus some 200 odd seats. Now, if there has to be a third front, I completely agree with one of the guests who said that any third front without the Congress will be a non-starter. And if the Congress is part of the third front, it is not third front, it is the second front.
Right.
So with the kind of second front, who will be the leader? If the Congress has to lead, is Mamata Banerjee agreeing to lead, be led by a Congress? And is Mamata Banerjee willing to be part of a conglomeration which includes the left? Can Chandrababu Naidu join hands with TSR?
Right, right.
Will Naveen Patnaik be ready to align himself with ADMK?
Right, right.
Will ADMK and DMK go together to oppose Congress and BJP? I mean, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
So I
But
think
Mr.
this is just a small crowd of people who are looking to fill a vacuum.
Mr. Chari,
And
it
the
was said
vacuum
after
is
Bihar,
in the
Mr.
ruling
Chari,
dispensation, the vacuum
Mr.
is in the
Chari,
opposition.
right, Mr. Chari, it was said after Bihar that Lalu and Nitish could come together, but no force on
Yes.
earth could have got SP and BSP together. In both Phulpur and Gorakhpur, Mayawati and Akhilesh have decided to join hands. So never say there could never be a day in politics when things won't be possible. I would just say that. But Jaggi, my question to you is, what is
Exactly.
more?
Fine.
Right.
They can temporarily come together.
Yeah, okay. I get your point, but I just want to move on and Jaggi to you then. What is more probable, a federal front of anti-Congress, anti-BJP chief ministers coming together, or a federal front of all opposition parties, including the Congress, being galvanized against the BJP?
See, the only viable opposition to the BJP, which is dominant in several states, has to be a Congress plus regional parties front. That is one thing that can really give a very tough fight to BJP and try and dethrone it in 2019. But if you keep the two together, then you will have a bunch of regional players who will keep their regional pockets, and the Congress will try to do that. They can try and come after the election in case they have done well. But usually then we are talking about an unprincipled alliance which has no particular reason to exist beyond the fact that they don't like the BJP. So I think the third front is a non-starter. It's not going to happen. If at all it will happen after the polls once the arithmetic is known. So the third front is actually a third affront, an affront to common sense. It will not work. It cannot take off. It will happen after the election. It cannot be a pre-poll alliance because there are too many contradictions within states and in the national economy as a whole. So I think it will have to be done. The only way you can have a second front which is truly federalist, if it has, let's say, a simple 3-point charter, that the first thing we are going to do is we are going to devolve powers to the states, we are going to dismantle the powers of the center and say, oh, they are going to do only 5 things like foreign policy, like what KCR said today, that you do these 5 things which are done by Delhi, rest should be given to states, and after that there is no need for a third front or a fifth front or whatever. So I think a federal front is useful if it comes for the simple reason of a constitutional amendment to devolve powers down to the states. If that happens, then I think it does not matter who rules Delhi or who doesn't rule Delhi.
Right, and I wonder if the Congress party would support such a move, and that's a big question mark. We'll come to you, Sushmita, on that. But let me get a quick word from Professor Sanjay Kumar. 2 points. One, that Jaggi says that such a formation has to happen, if at all, post-poll and not pre-poll, number one. And number two, the point that Sushmita they've made, how do you read this entire talk in the context of the Bypoll results? I mean, is it fair to extrapolate the Bypoll results that have come in favor of of the opposition to draw a larger picture. Take the case of Alwar in Rajasthan, where a 2.8 lakh vote victory for the BJP in 2014 turned into a 1.5 lakh vote defeat for the BJP in the by-elections just now. So, can we read too much into these bypoll elections?
I would say we are reading too much into the bypoll results. I don't take these bypoll results very, very seriously. They doesn't give any reflection of what is happening in the state. Yes, you cited the numbers that a constituency where BJP has actually won the 2014 election, they got defeated in that constituency. But this is no mood, this is no reflection of the mood of the entire state. We cannot take the bypolls of one or two constituency, whether it is Lok Sabha or Assembly, as a reflection of what people in the entire state think. These are local consideration, and local considerations actually matter in these by-elections. If these are any reflection, I think they would be, we could actually see the noises coming out from different corners of the state. I think this whole talk about whether there would be a third front or second front, the discussion hinges lot on what is going to happen in Phulpur and the Gorakhpur constituency. If in spite of BSP and SP joining hands or having an understanding, in spite of that, if BJP manages to win these two constituencies, which I think they would, then all this talk would actually go down. There would be, kind of a decline, or there would be kind of less enthusiasm for a talk of third front, fourth front. But if at all things change and SP manages to win both these seats, I think the talk with regard to any kind of an understanding, having a third front, would become faster. But still, all the doubts in the mind of political analyst like me would be there. All the contradiction in the state, whether they can actually come together or not, those doubts still remains.
Sanjay, just hold your thoughts there, because I just want to take that thread of thought forward. And Jaggi, before I go back to the politicians, want to quickly get your view on, the third front perhaps, or the mooted third front, or the coming together of these like-minded or not so like-minded political parties has got one thing right, and that's the BJP maxing it out and peaking it out in states like Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Gujarat, and they've maxed it out, they will perhaps only go south from there. But have these parties got and miscalculated the Congress's upside? Have they misread into that completely?
Yes, absolutely, Supriya. That is really the point. I think the talk of the third front is premature right now, when there are 4 major state elections up ahead. One is Karnataka, where Congress, if at all, might face some slight anti-incumbency. Then you have the 3 BJP states coming towards the end of the year. It's only when the opposition sees how all these states pan out, then talk of the third front or whatever makes sense. Because suppose the Congress does very well in these 4 states, or doesn't do so well, then in fact, it is only if the Congress doesn't do so well that then you are going to talk about a third front, because if the Congress does well in these 4 states, Karnataka and the 3 BJP states that are going, then what reason do you have for a third front? They have to actually team up with the Congress in order to defeat the BJP for sure in 2019. So that will be the logic. So third front talk, extremely premature. We should talk about it in December, not now.
Okay, we should talk about it in December and not now. Sushmita Dev, you alluded to it in your opening remarks as well, which is that, what probably we need to look at 2019 as sort of micro battles. And Jaggi has spoken about it in the past as well here in ET now. Is that a realization in the Congress party that, it's unfair, that projecting Rahul Gandhi versus Narendra Modi isn't probably going to take the Congress too far, and so it's much better to break it down into micro battle, a battle in Telangana, a battle in Bengal, a battle in Karnataka, a battle in Uttar Pradesh. Is that the way the Congress would look at the 2019 elections as well?
See, I'll put it this way, that this is not directly connected to the battle between Rahul Gandhi ji and Narendra Modi ji. Congress as a party is very committed to ensuring that the kind of politics that BJP has brought to Indian polity should be blocked, and that's our priority. obviously, if you have an alliance, if we do have an alliance, there is no question of declaring who's going to be the Prime Minister, who's not. I mean, it's happened in the past too. So there are no rewards for guessing over there. But it is very simple. The reality is that, especially when you go to the south, especially if you go to in a state like Tamil Nadu, that the presence of the regional party is far more than the Indian National Congress. And to stop a communal party like BJP, there will be considerations made, and we've kept that open. But to say that there will be a third front, which is a non-BJP, non-Congress front, or whether it's going to be a second front, it's not, you can't say that right now. I don't know if you watched the parliament today and what the speaker decided to show on the Lok Sabha channel, but today, apart from the Bharatiya Janata Party, every other party was in the well for one reason or the other, and that's not a good sign for the BJP. That's not a good sign for the BJP. They need to worry about that. So the entire seat count that you're saying, 300 plus with allies and 200 and so much on their own, lot of things are going to change in the next 6 months.
You know, it's a very important point that you've brought to this discussion, and I want to go across to Mr. Reddy on exactly that. Mr. Reddy, the point that Sushmita Dev made, you know, how at least in the south we do see very strong regional parties. Is this whole cry of, I know you choose to say we never spoke about the third front, but that alternative quote unquote that I may speak about, is this whole war cry also being bedded on this whole axis of Telugu politics? Like she's pointing out, every other party other than the BJP was in the well today, which includes the TDP. Are you betting on the Telugu axis together between you and Andhra Pradesh, between Telangana and Andhra Pradesh? There are about 35-40 MPs that you're sending to the Lok Sabha.
That is definitely not the case. It's not a question of Telugu politics. It's a question of at the national level what is required. Now, we all know coalitions have not been successful in the past. There are inherent contradictions in coalitions because most of the coalitions were for political opportunism to eject the ruling party, and that agenda is not sufficient. If indeed people are looking for major changes like what happened in Singapore or Japan or Malaysia, which happened in neighboring Asian countries, if they are looking for that change, and whether it's coalition or whether it's a social movement or whether it's some other form of political solution, then it will succeed. Merely for defeating someone, merely for political opportunities, no coalition, because inherently, definitely, even if we do form a coalition, if anyone forms a coalition, it's to eject the BJP. It's definitely not, Mamata will not want to, or Akhilesh doesn't want to fight for his power, not for somebody else's power. So there are inherent problems with coalition when it comes to using it for political opportunities.
You know, I appreciate the fact that you're being candid here, and that's the question I'm going to ask D. Raja. You know, before I go take it to Seshadri Chari, you know, can this hurriedly cobbled together coalition of trying to put together people just because there is this opposition to Narendra Modi and to the BJP, can they really take on the political machinery that's spearheaded by Narendra Modi and Amit Shah and the BJP? You know, can this sort of, you know, can a coalition based on, you know, without any binding principles really take on the political machinery of the BJP that's winning election after election? D. Raja.
Now we are not in a hurry in forming coalitions to face elections. What we are saying, now we need a broadest possible platform or coalition to fight the fascistic policies, practices of BJP, RSS. When it comes to elections, that is different from state to state. We will have one election in Karnataka, then we will have elections in different states, then we will move to elections for the parliament. At that point of time, the electoral tactical line can be state specific, taking into consideration the balance of forces in the state, keeping in view the primary objective of defeating BJP.
Okay, if the primary objective is to defeat the BJP, it's only fair I go back to Seshadri Chari. And Mr. Chari, at one level, do you believe 2019 is not going to be a contest being fought between the Congress and the BJP, but instead it will be a duel that Mr. Modi and Amit Shah will have to contest in every individual state? In West Bengal, it's going to be Mamata Banerjee. In UP, it could be Mayawati and Akhilesh. In Telangana, it will be, TRS. Is this how it's really going to pan out? In Bihar, it may be the Congress and the RJD together. Will we see individual duels instead of a pan-India, face-off?
No, if let us really look at this scenario of 2019, when BJP is the single pole, the main pole, and there are regional parties, regional leaders. I won't even call themselves as parties, but regional leaders with say a limited appeal, and then the only pan-India party which can really pose some sort of a challenge to the BJP is still the Congress. Congress may be just 44 seats in the parliament, but as somebody pointed out, Congress is the only party which can again put up 543 candidates. But if the Congress is not going to put up 543 candidates and they are going to share some of the seats with these political parties, which means they are going to share something like 250 seats with all these other people. So if the Congress is going to contest only half the seats that are available for Lok Sabha, where is the question of challenging BJP? So I don't see this happening. I think the only best way for, if at all the so-called anti-BJP parties really want to take on the BJP, they will have to come to the political arena with a specific agenda. And if they come with a specific agenda that states require more autonomy, states require more power, more money and everything, these are some of the same complaints that they had with the Congress. So how do they expect that the Congress is going to do them justice and not the BJP? So the best thing would be all these political parties, say which control about 200 odd Lok Sabha seats, would be concentrating on their respective states. If they are able to maintain their respective states, they will be happy and they will not be bothered about what happens at the center. So I think as and when the time comes, maybe after 6 months or 7 months, unless they are able to accept the leadership of the Congress, they will not be able to really cobble up the kind of strength that they can challenge the BJP with. Therefore, I still feel the third front is not going to happen, and it will be, at best it can be a second front led by the Congress.
At
but
best
even that I don't see as a winning combination. So for quite some time they will have to accept the fact that they are in minority, they will have to sit in the opposition.
Okay, fair enough. Let's get a word from the political analyst then, and Sanjay Kumar, comment on that. The arithmetic possibility, the talk of the index of opposition unity. Clearly, there are two states that are very critical, right? Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, which send over 120 seats to the Lok Sabha. How do you see if the second front were to come through, if it were coalition led by the Congress and a lot of these regional parties supporting it? How could it change the arithmetic? Can it change the arithmetic at all? And also in the Lok Sabha, around 300 odd seats, there's a clear one-on-one fight between the BJP and the Congress. So again, how does this talk of a sort of getting these regional parties together, how does this fundamentally change the arithmetic in 2019?
You mentioned about two kinds of states. One, states where BJP and Congress are against each other. This is a bipolar contest. We should not forget that even in most of these states where Congress and BJP are in a bipolar contest, BJP actually managed to win the 2014 election with a huge margin. Look at Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Himachal, Uttarakhand, and we can take names of couple of more states. These are the states where BJP has more than 50% vote or close to 50% vote. So it's very difficult for the Congress to put up a fight because You have Congress and BJP, and then we have a very sometimes small number of smaller political parties cutting into some votes. So even in a bipolar contest, I think BJP still has a huge lead over Congress, huge edge over Congress, and Congress may find it still very difficult to actually defeat BJP in many of these constituencies. Now look at different kinds of states. You mentioned about UP and you mentioned about Maharashtra. In UP, even when BJP was up against the three, BJP was in a four-cornered contest. We had Congress, SP, BSP. But even in a four-cornered contest, BJP not only managed to win this election, win more than 70 seats, but look at the vote percentages. BJP and along with the two small allies, BJP managed to get roughly about 44-45% vote. I don't imagine a scenario, at least in UP, even if SP, BSP and Congress all come together, I don't see a scenario where votes of all the three parties can be clubbed together and they would manage to get, say, roughly about 50% plus vote. That's not going to happen. And why it may not happen? Because as soon as voters, common voters, floating voters, these are roughly 10-15% voters.
Right.
If they see all the three coming together against one man, against one party, there would be some kind of a reaction. In Maharashtra also, look at the vote percentages of BJP in a four-cornered contest. BJP has a huge lead over the nearest rival.
Right.
It not only managed to just win election by a small margin. BJP had a huge lead.
Right.
So coming together of all political parties against BJP either in Maharashtra or UP doesn't help much.
Right. Sanjay, just hold your thoughts there, because I think it really brings me to the very interesting point of the BJP is looking strong, all right, but what about its allies? Are its allies looking vulnerable? And Jaggi, that question is really to you. Whether it's the Akalis or whether it's the Shiv Sena, or the allies down under, where there is already trouble in the house. Obviously the trouble in the house with the allies and the allies themselves. Are they perhaps looking a lot more vulnerable?
Yes, in fact, the BJP's weakest point today is its strained relationships with many of its allies, including the Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, the TDP in Andhra, and of course with Nitish it seems to be all right, and with the Akalis it's all right, but the Akalis themselves are in a bit of a decline. So even with a decent relationship, we do not know how it's going to fare in Punjab. So the four key allies and four key states that have to contribute a lot of seats, actually there is a problem, and if the BJP and TDP don't solve the thing, don't forget in 2004 it was Andhra and Tamil Nadu that changed the complexion of the whole election. So if TDP does not hold Andhra for 2019, the BJP will have a problem if it falls short of 272. So similarly, we don't know what's going to happen in Tamil Nadu, where there are four different parties vying for the vote. So we don't know who will come out on tops or whether you're going to get a very split kind of verdict there. So a lot of things, I think the BJP's prime challenge today is ally management, to make sure that they are not miffed and undercut the alliance vote in 2019. If they keep all their allies together through some means or the other, I think they have a good shot at 2019.
Indeed. We'll take a short break on that note. When we come back, we spoke about the fact that what could bring these parties together is the need to give more power to states. But what about their economic ideology? What will be the economic thinking of this alternate formation? Will this be extreme left of center, more left of center? Should markets and investors be nervous? We'll talk about all of that in just a few minutes, back on the India Development Debate with this wonderful panel debating the third front threat. Back with ET now. This is the India Development Debate. We were talking about what could be the alternate economic ideology, if at all, to take on the Modi government. Let me start with D. Raja. D. Raja, in the backdrop of the of the performance in Tripura, can the left and the third front, so to say, really come up with an alternate economic model? I mean, people of this country have rejected left of center economic policies. I mean, look at the vote in Tripura; it's against years of slow growth. People have rejected that economic ideology. Can the left reinvent itself? And more importantly, can this, so-called formation come up with an alternate economic ideology that's not extreme left of center?
Exactly. We are also discussing and trying to project an economic alternative. What we have been witnessing is something disastrous. Since 1990s onwards, the so-called Washington consensus, the so-called neoliberal policies imposed on the whole world, including India. We pursued the same neoliberal economic paradigm of development. What is the net result? It is not only in India, everywhere across the globe, unprecedented inequality. Even there are reports which show clearly that 1% of population has amassed more than 70% of India's wealth. How can it happen? It is not my contention or the communists are saying this. Even the economists who belong to International Monetary Fund, World Bank have admitted the essence of neoliberalism is unprecedented inequality among the people, among the nations. How do you address this issue? Then what for we are creating wealth? If people starve, if people do not get jobs, if people do not get decent dwelling, if people do not get adequate means of livelihood, what is the development we are talking about?
All right, so the development and the inequality levels versus the neoliberalism. I'll go across to Mr. Reddy. And Mr. Reddy, I know in Telangana you boast of the fact that you are growing at twice the rate at which India is growing. How is this economic ideology really going to sit in with the economic ideology that Mr. Raja just espoused, which is very different from what Mr. Rao, I mean back home, your leader seems to espouse and embrace?
Firstly, I like to make it clear we are a young party without the baggage of any ideology except development. And we've seen that we were surprised. We are a party with never ruled, we were never ruling party ever, but with such ease we could get the basics. And basics like plain drinking water. No state in the country in last 70 years has drinking water. And if you look at the numbers, our tax collection, state-owned tax revenues are 21% growth year upon year, and our GDP growth rate is twice that of India. And if we can do it with such ease, why not in our own state, why not in the entire country? And why not? Why do we talk about China or Malaysia or Singapore? Why can't it happen here? Now, if that is our only agenda, how do we break the slow growth? And it's not a political agenda for political opportunism. And therefore, if the people start becoming restless, that will turn into a movement, and that is what is the change we can help bring about in the country.
Sushmita, Dev, when you hear the TRS, you get a sense that their aspirations are very different. They're not clamoring to be to be the party forming the government in the center or to be the prime minister of this country. Can the Congress party reimagine itself, reinvent itself to make itself more amenable, more attractive to some of these regional parties? Part of the reason why this entire realignment has happened in the Northeast is because political parties there want to be aligned to the party in power at the center. States now have serious development aspirations. Can the Congress party recognize that and alter its economic model to make it more relevant to states of this country?
See, I'll be very pragmatic about this whole situation. If you're talking about an economic agenda that's acceptable to all, as you know from our past experiences, there's always been a common minimum program according to which the UPA functioned. And I would like to say that all the aspirations that my friend on the channel just said a second ago, that is everybody's aspiration. That is everybody's aspiration, and the economic agenda of the NDA government or of the BJP has been the biggest issue in the last 2 years. Whether it is growth rate, whether it's unemployment, whether it's the manufacturing sector. So how is our agenda different from what the allies are saying? But you are asking me to speculate. So, but I can only look back to say that whatever agenda, whether it is social, economic or any other aspect of running a country, there is generally a common minimum program which is adhered to, and that will happen if there is an alliance with other parties. But the question is that for any economic agenda to unfold and become a reality, you need complete cooperation of the states and the center when it comes to policies. So, that is the reality of our democracy. But today to say I will not go with Congress, so I will, for me to say that I am not going to go with the Telangana chief minister because he has made a hash and there are so many corruption charges against him, I mean, you know, then there is no end to saying a lot of things. But to my mind, if an alliance has to be solid, the common minimum program has to be in place and everybody involved has to be committed to it. That's the only way it will work.
All right, fair enough. That's a very pragmatic approach to keeping an alliance together. But Sheshadri Chari, I have a bit of a contrarian question to ask you here. You know, market men and experts in industry somehow tends to get very worried about the possibility of a third front coalition. I mean, if it's the BJP, it's all right. If it's the Congress, they'll make their peace with it. But is this a possibility as bad as it is made out to be? I mean, let's talk facts. The dream budget of 1997 presented by Mr. Chidambaram actually happened in a coalition government, in the United Front government of 1997. So is it as bad as a reality that it's somehow made out to be?
No, the question of, I mean, it was not a dream budget for that matter, and we know the consequences of the dream budget also. And as far as shifting from socialist economy to market economy is concerned, it was Mrs. Indira Gandhi who introduced the word socialist and secular in the preamble of the constitution, but it was the same Congress in 1993 which made India the member of the WTO. And then it was this same Dr. Manmohan Singh and P.V. Narasimha Rao who opened up the economy and changed the track and the template of India's economy. So as far as economic programs are concerned, whatever Mr. D. Raja, my good friend Mr. D. Raja may be saying, I don't think even the common minimum program which they adopted in 2004 worked. After all, it was the same Congress, it was the same Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh who had to finally jettison the left, and that was the only thing that the Congress party went and told the people, you get rid of the left and give us a mandate minus the left, we will give you a good government, but they could not give a good government. So this coalition on common minimum program did not succeed for the Congress. As far as the BJP is concerned, BJP has adopted an independent economic program, and all the allies of the BJP as far as the economic program is with them, and we are also talking development. So it would be good for the state governments, whichever the state government may be, even if it is a Congress state government or even if it is a non-Congress, non-BJP state government, the best thing for them would be to use all the available institutions like Niti Aayog. For the first time, the BJP government has made a Niti Aayog, and all the state chief ministers are members of the Niti Aayog. It is not that they have been selected, it is mandatory for Niti Aayog to take the consensus of all the state chief ministers. We have seen how GST Council, where all the state finance ministers are part of it, all the states are part of it, and it is they who decide more than 60% of the tax outlay of the budget.
True.
So, if this is the kind of economic engagement that BJP is seeking to do with state parties, I think this collective cooperative federalism system will work, and therefore for all these political parties to come out, instead of looking at politics as a ruling party and opposition party, I think we should be looking at a cooperative federal structure as far as the Indian political system is concerned, which will concern look at only developmental aspects.
Okay, Jaggi, two quick questions. One, is the paranoia of this sort of, left of center government or of this third front in markets and business community, is it justified? Number one. And second, this cooperative federalism point that Mr. Chari made, do you sense that Prime Minister Modi will now sort of smell an opportunity here and reach out more? He's walked some of the talk, but not enough. There are various states who believe that he's not, that he doesn't really walk the talk when it comes to cooperative federalism. Do you sense that he will jump the gun and reach out more to these like-minded state governments?
Yeah, the first question, I would say almost all Indian parties have moved significantly to the left over the last 15 years. You saw the same Manmohan Singh of 1991 was the same in 2004 was doing Narega and all kinds of more left wing stuff. You saw Narendra Modi, who talked about the government has no business to be in business, but they continue to be in business, and they have in fact expanded the government's pro-poor programs and in various ways, while of course dealing with corruption and other things. So I don't think any party in India is actually completely right wing in the Western sense of the term. So that's the first point. The second thing is, I think Mr. Modi will have to accommodate federalism far more than he has been willing to so far, or probably because with 282 seats you didn't need to be accommodative, but you need to actually do it regardless of whether you have 282 seats or 150 seats, because I think India cannot be run from Delhi no matter how good the Prime Minister is, no matter how good your majority is, because India has to be governed at the level of the states. Remember, UP is the number 5 country in the world if it was a separate country. You cannot run UP from Delhi, just like you can't run Telangana from Hyderabad either. You should be actually delegating powers to local bodies and all that. Maharashtra cannot be run only from Bombay.
Right.
You need to develop several other things. So the point is, you need to federate.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that model has to change. But Sushmita, they will let you have the last word on the show very quickly then. Has Modi changed how New Delhi works? I mean, you know, there are various changes in the government, and do you believe any government that now comes in, and even if it were to be a third front government, you know, the Congress has led an ally government and perhaps also paid a price for how demanding the allies can sometimes be, and the whole haggling of berths and governance in that. Do you believe he's altered the government model in New Delhi, and the third front government, even if it were to be a coalition government, will be a very different coalition than the coalition of the 96, 98 kind of a coalition, where the allies were very demanding partners?
See, we have less time, but I can tell you something that Narendra Modi ji every time during an election has gone to the state and promised something in a rally as a Prime Minister. He is no ordinary campaigner. He is the Prime Minister of India. But every time when an election result hasn't suited him, he's come back to the hot seat of the Prime Minister and forgotten it till that regional party has again joined hands with him. The biggest example being Bihar. So the question of when you judge this government, you cannot judge this government simply by the fact that all the chief ministers are members of the Niti Aayog. Those are just optics. But the question is, Prime Minister Modi, anybody who joins hands with Prime Minister Modi has to accept the fact that it's his way or the highway. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
Rest is all rhetoric. And I think that's the best way to describe the way Prime Minister Modi has dealt with anybody else when it comes to electoral politics or federalism.
Okay, Sanjay Kumar, 30 seconds, and I'm going to let you have the last word, which is, you know, and something that was alluded to.
I think the most important, I think the most important change that has taken place in center, the most important change that has taken place in the center is the Prime Minister's office rules the country. It is not some other
okay, point taken, point taken. Okay, fair enough.
Position has been restored. Therefore, I think it is better to deal the subject from that point of view.
Okay, fair enough. Sanjay Kumar, last word to you, very quickly, 30 seconds, is that, you know, is a lot going to depend on what happens in the next set of by-elections, that's crucial ones in Gorakhpur and Phulpur, and of course the 4 big assembly elections beginning with Karnataka. Is that going to set the tone and the template for what happens and what kind of formation takes place before 2019? Professor Sanjay Kumar, last word.
Absolutely no doubt about that. We have to wait and see what happens in Phulpur and Gorakhpur, and then the states which you mentioned, say Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. We have to wait and see what results comes out from these elections, and that's going to set the tone for the 2019 Lok Sabha elections.
Okay. On that note, completely out of time on this edition of the India Development Debate, but thank you very much each one of our panelists for sparing time and being with us. Sushmita Dev, Seshadri Chari, D. Raja, Mr. Reddy here, Professor Sanjay Kumar, and of course R. Jagannathan for sparing time and being with us on this fascinating discussion of the third front, the possibility of it, and how will this change Indian politics. The big cue, however, to that perhaps will be the by-elections that are coming up in Uttar Pradesh of Gorakhpur and Phulpur, and also the assembly elections.
Don't worry, we're up next is Top 10 at 10 with Tanya. Keep it with ET now. Good night.